9 things they feel when you simply disappear. Practical Stoicism for daily life. 9 things they feel when you simply disappear. Practical Stoicism for daily life. Have you ever stopped to wonder what happens when you completely vanish from someone's life? Not just pulling back slightly, but disappearing without a trace. No calls, no texts, no explanations. People tend to take others for granted, believing they will always be around. But when you walk away, you force them to confront a harsh reality. Your presence was never guaranteed. And trust me, when you disappear, their world shifts in ways they never expected. This is for every man who has ever been treated like an afterthought. If you've ever felt like just another option, today, that ends. In this video, we're diving deep into 9 intense emotional stages that they will go through when you remove yourself from their life, each one revealing a truth that most people don't want to admit. By the end, you'll realize that sometimes the most powerful move you can make is to leave and never look back. And here's the kicker. There's a bonus 10th stage they'll experience, one that will change everything. If you're ready to reclaim your value and make them feel your absence like never before, comment below. I am done being an option. Because after today, you never will be again. Now, let's begin. Number 1. The sting of rejection. This is where the lesson begins. They never imagined you would simply disappear. After all, you were always there. The one who put in the effort, made the plans, and carried the emotional weight of the relationship. They assumed your presence was a given, something they could count on without question, until it wasn't. When you remove yourself without warning, it's like striking a bell whose sound echoes in their mind long after you've gone. The realization crashes over them like a wave. They had something valuable, but they only see it clearly in its absence. As the old saying goes, you never know what you have until it's gone. This is the sting of rejection, not just a shallow wound, but a deep personal cut that forces them to confront an uncomfortable truth. They never had control over you in the first place. In relationships, people often become complacent when they believe someone will always be there. You become their safety net, an option rather than a priority. And when you vanish, you rip that net away, leaving them in free fall. It's unsettling, even terrifying, because they had convinced themselves that they had the upper hand. This is where the panic sets in. The questions start racing through their mind. How did I let this happen? How did I lose control? The irony is that they may have thought they were the ones granting you the privilege of being in their life, offering you crumbs of attention while you carried the weight of the connection. But the truth? You were the one holding it together all along. As Marcus Aurelius once said, the best revenge is not to be like your enemy. When you disappear, don't do it out of bitterness or to teach them a lesson. Do it because you have mastered yourself, because you understand your worth, and because you no longer seek validation from those who take you for granted. You are no longer at their mercy. You are no longer waiting for their approval. True power is found in silence, in simply walking away without explanation. No warnings, no ultimatums, no last attempts to make them see your value. Just distance, absolute and undeniable. By doing this, you force them to reflect. They are left with nothing but their own actions, their own neglect, and their own lack of appreciation. The absence of your presence is now a mirror in which they must face themselves. And that, more than anything, is what stings the most. Seneca once wrote, "He who is brave is free." When you walk away, when you choose yourself over disrespect, you embrace that freedom. And once you do, never look back. They will feel the sting of rejection, and trust me, it will hit them in ways they never expected. Now, I want to hear from you. Have you ever walked away from a situation where you were undervalued? What did you learn from it? Number 2, deep self-reflection. Now we're entering dangerous territory. For them. This is where self-reflection kicks in. And trust me, it's not pretty. After days or even weeks of wondering where you are and what you're doing, they finally turn inward. They start asking themselves the hard questions. Was I too distant? Was I too cold? Did I push them away? Did I mess this up? The regret starts creeping in, and it's a bitter pill to swallow. Here's the reality. People don't like to admit when they've made mistakes. It's human nature. But when you disappear, you force them to confront those mistakes head on. Without you there to reassure them or smooth things over, they're left to face their own behavior. And it's not a fun experience. They start replaying every interaction in their mind, questioning whether they could have done something differently. They remember the times they ignored your texts, the times they brushed off your feelings, the times they made you feel like an afterthought. And it hits them hard. Because deep down, they know they had a good thing going, but they took it for granted. Now, they're stuck with their own thoughts, and those thoughts are brutal. This stage is especially powerful because it's internal. They can't blame you anymore. You're not around to argue with. You're not there to make excuses for them. The only person they can blame is themselves. And that's a tough pill to swallow. The self-reflection gets deeper as time goes on. And the more they reflect, the more they realize how much they messed up. The guilt builds. They start wishing they could go back in time and do things differently, but it's too late for that now. What should you do during this stage? Nothing. Don't reach out. Don't explain why you left. Don't try to make them see the error of their ways. Let them figure it out on their own. Self-reflection is most powerful when it happens internally. The more time they spend reflecting, the more they'll realize that they were the reason things went wrong. Let them sit with that guilt. It's a valuable lesson they need to learn. Number 3, overwhelming curiosity. When a woman is trying to conceal her feelings for you, one of the most telling signs is overwhelming curiosity. As the modern Stoic knows, the mind craves what it cannot have. And when it comes to relationships, nothing ignites that primal urge more than the feeling of mystery. Picture this. You were once a known entity in her life, a part of her routine. But now you've become a puzzle. And that is more unsettling than you might think. She's no longer able to access you, and curiosity seeps into her thoughts. The questions consume her. Where are you? What are you doing? Who are you with? Every waking moment is filled with the need to know, the craving to uncover the pieces of your life. This is where the modern Stoic principle of emotional control becomes essential. You see, while she's spiraling, you maintain your composure. You understand that a man who controls his actions, his presence, and his social media isn't just a man of mystery. He's a man of power. And let's face it, power is magnetic. She'll be checking your Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, every platform, looking for any hint of you, any scrap of information. But here's the truth. You've gone dark. No updates, no posts, no stories, and it drives her mad. She's caught in a whirlwind of curiosity that makes her question everything. In this moment, you hold the power. A king never begs a queen to stay. As the saying goes, this is your time to show her that you are the prize, not the other way around. The more you make her chase, the more she'll crave your presence. And while you're at it, remember this: pain is temporary, power is forever. Comment below if you agree, because you control your mind, and in doing so, you control your destiny. Don't give in to the chase. You've already won. Keep your mystery. Keep your power. Number 4. The void of missing you. When someone takes you for granted, they assume you will always be there, like background music in their life, unnoticed yet ever present. But the moment you remove yourself, something unexpected happens. They feel the void. Not just any void, but a gnawing emptiness that lingers in their mind like a song they can't shake off. At first, they convince themselves they won't care. If they leave, I'll just move on, they think. But reality doesn't unfold the way they imagined. As the days pass, they begin to sense something missing, a subtle yet persistent ache in the spaces where you once existed. You were not just a presence. You were the warmth, the energy, and the emotional anchor that gave depth to their life. And now, in your absence, everything feels dull, like a painting drained of color. They try to carry on as if nothing has changed, but every moment reminds them of what they lost. They seek distractions, new people, new experiences, work, hobbies, anything to fill the void, yet nothing truly satisfies. This is the nature of loss. It teaches appreciation in its most painful form. Epictetus, a great Stoic philosopher, once said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." This is where practical stoicism comes in. Instead of clinging to the illusion of being needed, embrace the reality that detachment is power. The person who let you go may now be drowning in regret, but that is not your burden to bear. Your role is not to soften their fall, but to walk your own path of wisdom, unshaken and resolute. When you remove yourself completely, no social media, no lingering texts, no breadcrumbs of your existence, you allow them to fully experience the weight of your absence. And this is crucial, because people only value what they can no longer reach. They thought they could replace you, but what they don't understand is that certain connections are irreplaceable. They miss the little things, the way your laughter filled a room, the way your presence made them feel truly understood. It's the small, everyday moments that haunt them now, the ones they took for granted. And here's the irony. They didn't appreciate you when they had you. They assumed you would always be around, perhaps even thought they could do better. But now, with nothing but memories to cling to, they are forced to confront the truth. They lost someone truly valuable. Every time they think of you and realize they can't reach out, the void deepens. The more they try to find you and come up empty, the stronger the regret. Let them sit in that emptiness. Let them wrestle with the consequences of their choices. This is not about revenge. It's about self-respect. Your presence was a privilege, and once it is revoked, they will finally understand what they once had. And by the time they truly comprehend it, you will have already moved forward, walking the path of wisdom with clarity and strength. Now tell me, have you ever been in a situation where someone only realized your worth after you left? Number 5, the desire to play the game. When regret begins to take root in someone's heart, panic sets in. They feel the desperate need to regain control, but they're lost, unsure of how to do it. So, what do? They start to play games. They intentionally distance themselves, aiming to provoke a reaction from you. They post pictures with others, hoping to convince you that they are thriving without you. Perhaps they even throw up a vague, attention-grabbing status about moving on, or a selfie that screams for validation. In reality, all of this is just a ploy to reel you back in, to make you question their intentions and what they might be doing. But here's where you win. You've moved beyond this game. You've outgrown the need for childish tricks. You no longer react to their manipulations because you've learned the power of detachment, a principle at the core of modern Stoic philosophy. In fact, when you stop chasing, you gain control. As Marcus Aurelius, the Stoic philosopher, said, "The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts." And when your thoughts no longer revolve around their petty games, you free yourself. The moment you stop playing, their tactics lose their effect. They may try to provoke you further, through passive-aggressive comments or exaggerated social media posts, but none of it matters. You won't engage. The power dynamic shifts in your favor. You've moved past the need for validation, and that drives them mad. The key here is not to react. Simply ignore their attempts. They'll soon realize that their manipulations no longer hold weight, and that, my friend, is where you win. Remember, you are in control of your peace. Share your thoughts below on how you've stopped playing these games in your own life. What's your strategy for holding on to your inner calm? Number 6. The battle between relief and regret. When you disappear from someone's life, their first reaction might be a sigh of relief. They convince themselves they are finally free from whatever tension, responsibility, or emotional weight they associated with you. At first, they may even enjoy it, going out more, filling their days with distractions, surrounding themselves with noise, and indulging in fleeting pleasures. But here's the truth about this so-called freedom. It is an illusion. Like a mirage in the desert, it promises relief, but delivers nothing but emptiness. It's easy to believe that detachment means liberation, but as Seneca once said, we suffer more in imagination than in reality. They imagine a better, freer life without you, but reality has a different lesson in store for them. The excitement of their newfound independence is temporary. When the noise fades and they are left in silence, when the parties end, the messages stop coming in, and they are alone in their quiet apartment, they begin to feel something else creeping in. Regret. They reach for their phone, hoping for a distraction, but there's no notification from you. The people they thought could replace your presence are nothing more than surface-level interactions, temporary, transactional, and ultimately unfulfilling. It's like drinking salt water when thirsty. It offers an illusion of satisfaction, but in the end, it leaves them more parched, more desperate, and more aware of the void they tried so hard to ignore. In today's world of instant gratification and disposable connections, many believe they can replace deep bonds as easily as swiping right or moving on to the next fling. But emotions don't work that way. They soon realize that genuine connection, one that offers emotional stability, understanding, and depth, is irreplaceable. The cold, hard truth dawns on them. Freedom without real connection is nothing more than loneliness, dressed up as independence. The people they turn to now cannot replicate what you brought into their life, and that is the moment they are hit with the weight of what they lost. What should you do in this situation? Nothing. Let them experience the so-called freedom they wanted. Let them sit in the space they thought would bring them peace. Do not reach out to comfort them. Do not try to fix their regret, and most importantly, do not lessen their suffering. This is where your own practical stoicism for daily life comes into play. You do not need to interfere, plead, or chase. Their lesson is theirs to learn. They must feel the weight of their own choices. Their temporary relief will fade, but the memory of your absence will linger far longer than they ever anticipated. This is the power of having an iron mind and understanding Stoic principles. You do not allow emotions to dictate your actions. Instead, you remain steady, composed, and unshaken. If they return, they do so not because you begged, but because they realized your worth. And if they don't, you move forward, knowing that your value is not diminished by someone else's temporary blindness. The absence you create is not about revenge. It is about demonstrating self-respect. It is about showing that true strength lies in letting go, in walking away without looking back, and in allowing others to face the consequences of their own decisions. Number 7. The urge to pursue you. When you have spent enough time in self-reflection, something profound begins to shift within you. The questions and doubts you once had about yourself start to fade, replaced by a stronger, more grounded sense of who you are. And, inevitably, the tables turn. There was a time when you put in all the effort, cared the most, and relentlessly pursued someone. But now, it is their turn. They go from a place of indifference to one of desperation, realizing they might have lost something valuable. The urge to reconnect becomes overwhelming for them. They begin to reach out in any way they can, sending those "I've been thinking about you" texts, or liking your old Instagram posts. They might comment on something you shared, hoping to spark a conversation, or send a late-night message after a few drinks, wondering if it's too late to rekindle what was lost. You see, the dynamic has shifted. Now, they are the ones chasing you. They have moved from taking you for granted to desperately wanting you back. In this moment, you hold all the power. And here is the modern Stoic principle. You must do nothing. Resist the urge to respond. When you do, the power shifts back to them, and you risk losing the ground you fought so hard to regain. Stay firm in your self-worth and let them do the chasing. Silence becomes your strongest tool. As the Stoic philosopher Epictetus wisely said, "Wealth consists not in having great possessions, but in having few wants." By not giving in to their advances, you assert your independence and emotional strength. Let them experience the frustration of wanting something they can no longer have. This teaches them the value of what they once took for granted, and in the process, you win. Not by forcing anything, but by embodying the Stoic principle of inner peace and self-reliance. Remember, you control your emotions, and in the face of their desire, your silence speaks volumes. So, stay strong. Allow them to chase, but let them do so in the realization that you've grown beyond the need for their validation. What do you think about this approach? Share your thoughts in the comments section below. Number 8. The crushing weight of silence. Silence is one of the most powerful tools you can use when you vanish. The absence of your words, your texts, your presence. It speaks louder than anything you could say, and it leaves them with nothing but their own thoughts. Now, things get tough for them, because the silence is so heavy, so unbearable. They start to question everything. They start thinking back to all the times they ignored your calls, all the times they were too busy to reply to your texts, and now they would do anything to hear from you. Silence is torturous for someone who's used to having control. They expect you to reach out. They expect you to ask what's wrong. They expect you to beg for an explanation. But what happens when you don't? What happens when you disappear and they have to sit there in the quiet, wondering if they've lost you for good? They can't understand it. Every minute without a word from you feels like a year. And the longer it goes, the more anxious they become. We live in a world of constant communication, texts, calls, notifications, instant gratification. Everyone expects an immediate response. When you don't give them that, they spiral. They're used to the noise of a relationship, the back and forth, even the arguments. But silence is deafening. What should you do? Let your silence be your power. Don't break it. Don't explain yourself. Let them feel the weight of their own actions through the absence of your words. They'll soon realize that losing access to you is far worse than any argument you could have had. Number 9. The fear that brings them crawling back. When faced with a situation where someone you cared about chooses another, it's easy to feel like everything is falling apart. This moment of fear, however, is where the true power lies. The one who once believed they could take you for granted is now overcome with the terrifying thought of losing you forever. For a long time, they were comfortable, expecting that you would always be there, standing by them no matter what. But now, you've stepped away, and the fear of your absence hits them harder than anything they've ever felt. They can't help but think, what if they've truly moved on? What if someone else is making memories with them now? This fear consumes them to the point where their ego and pride no longer matter. The thought of you laughing with someone else makes them sick, and they'll do anything to get you back. Reach out, apologize, beg for forgiveness, even show up at your door. But here's the Stoic principle you need to embrace. When they come back with fear in their eyes, don't let that fear be the reason you reconsider. As Marcus Aurelius wisely said, the best revenge is to be unlike him who performed the injustice. By the time they feel this fear, you've already moved on. You've rediscovered your strength and independence. The modern Stoic knows that life doesn't wait for anyone, and true peace comes from the ability to let go. So, don't be swayed by their desperate plea for another chance. Let them face the consequences of their actions. You are no longer someone to be taken for granted, and your peace is far too valuable to sacrifice for fear-driven decisions. Stand firm in your choice, and as you walk forward, remember that this is the moment you reclaim your power. Let us know in the comments how you've handled similar situations and what you've learned through them. The final lesson. There comes a moment when you must decide. Will you continue being the man who waits, the man who begs, the man who tolerates disrespect? Or will you rise, walk away, and watch the world bend to your absence? The moment you withdraw your energy, the entire dynamic shifts. Suddenly they notice. Suddenly they regret. They took you for granted because you allowed it. But now, you hold the power. You are not an option. You are the prize. Epictetus once said, "How long will you wait before you demand the best for yourself?" This is your moment. You've already won the second you stop chasing and start commanding respect. Stoicism. Win isn't about suppressing emotions. It's about mastering them, controlling your destiny, and knowing when to walk away with your head high. Remember, a king never begs a queen to stay. When you vanish, they will feel the loss. They will understand that what they took for granted was irreplaceable, and by then, it will be too late. If you're ready to reclaim your throne, comment below. I'm done being an option. Power belongs to the man who knows his worth. You are that man. Now act like it. And that's it, my friend. When you simply disappear, people feel it, whether they admit it or not. But remember, your focus should always be on mastering yourself, not seeking reactions from others. If you found this video valuable, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. It helps more people discover these powerful Stoic insights, and it supports the channel in bringing you more content like this. Also, I'd love to hear your thoughts. Do you agree with these points? Have you experienced this yourself? Drop your thoughts in the comments below, and let's discuss. Stay strong, stay wise, and I'll see you in the next one.